All right, and we are live. Welcome back to the We Valiant Few Podcast, our first live episode.
This is very interesting.
Very interesting indeed, that's for sure.
It's exciting.
Yeah, so tonight's episode 19, it's on Airsoft.
Yes, it is.
But before we get into the show, as usual, we'll go around and see who's all here at the table. So we'll start with you, Slapshot.
You already introduced me. So, yeah, Slapshot's here.
I'm Blackbeard, and I'm back.
Blackbeard has returned.
Blackbeard has returned.
I was on a long excursion.
Long excursion, you were kidnapped by the KWA.
By the K.
Yeah, well,
okay.
I killed a lot of them with my bare hands and crawled
Kidnapped
out
by an
alive.
Airsoft company. I see how it is.
Interesting.
Oh, Crossfire, as you know.
Shaggy's back from hella long ago.
Shaggy's back for the microphone.
Shitty microphone.
And Raptor.
Yeah, so there's our crew tonight. So as usual, we're gonna plug our Discord. It's a good way to get a hold of us, see when we're doing these shows, especially going forward doing live shows. You can get a hold of us on our Discord. We're promoting the live shows on our Instagram at We Valiant Few. You can find us here on YouTube. You can also find us on our website, WeValiantFew.com. So if you like what we're doing, please share this to your friends, family, your family's friends, whatever. Your dog, yeah.
Your friend's dog.
And take into consideration again that this is a live show, our first live show, so there's gonna be a lot of ums and a lot of
Yeah, there may be a bit of some of this.
some. Yeah.
But we're going to try to work through it, do our best.
It's real. It's just
Yeah.
real us.
As if 19 episodes haven't given us enough practice of the ums and uhs.
And the you-knows.
Usually we're pretty good about it.
Yeah.
Some of us.
Sometimes.
Some of us are better than others.
Sometimes.
I just don't want to hear it.
Right.
You won't.
So we'll get into our first segment as we always do, current events. I just had something really simple to add to this because I know we had talked about this earlier. CPAC was Sunday. Well, it was all like the weekend, and Trump went on Sunday and came out and said that he would specifically said he would not be creating a new party. So I know a lot of people were talking like, oh, they're gonna make the Patriot Party, or oh, they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that. Yeah, that's not gonna be the case.
Which is good, because we don't need the Republican Party more fractured than it already is, because although we don't agree with everything the Republican Party says, it is the closest thing to what generally we all want. Like me personally, I'm a constitutionalist. I'm mostly going to look into Republican stuff, because they generally protect the Constitution.
I mean, they align best with it versus the other parties.
I mean, also, and it's also a good thing because, like Raptor said, not having it divided more. I mean, that probably means whenever he goes to run in 2024, he's either going to run Republican or he's going to run along with somebody or support somebody.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if he runs again.
I don't necessarily want him to run again.
Yeah,
I'd prefer if he didn't either.
I'd like if we had some strong leadership,
Yeah.
but that's just me.
Yeah.
But we'll move on to your current event, Raptor.
So I have earlier this week, I think Monday, Pelosi calls the sexual harassment allegations against Cuomo credible. I just thought that was a half decent point to make, since Cuomo has been basically being a hypocrite this whole time with the mask stuff and now this and all of that, as well as I had another thing. Earlier this week, Texas got rid of their mask mandates and still said that you could wear masks if you wanted to, which is obviously like the way it should be. It should be they're not mandated, but if you want to wear a mask, that's absolutely your right. But now we're getting all kinds of backlash from people like Beto O'Rourke and other people in that sphere that are basically just crapping on Texas, saying that everyone in Texas is going to die. They're siding with the virus. It's like complete ridiculousness, but regardless.
Well, I mean, they could just wear them to keep warm at this point.
Yeah, yeah, since they had that crazy snowstorm and they had like 2 inches of snow and nobody could freaking exist.
Yeah, and the freaking power companies decided, hey, we're just gonna not
Shut
give
it
it to
off.
some of you. We're just not gonna give it to some of you.
You know
And
that
the
power?
the people we do give it to, we're gonna hike that up to, what was it, $900 a megawatt instead of 50?
Yeah, and then I'm fairly
boy.
certain there was some bills passed very quickly after that stuff kind of happened, because I know Dan Crenshaw talked a lot about that whenever it was going on.
The man himself.
I was listening to what was it? Stuff They Don't Want You to Know, and they were explaining this whole thing. Shout out, by the way. That was exactly it. Is normally they had somebody that said normally his power bill was $125 a month, and at the end of the month his power bill was $3,000.
Yeah, see that's definitely not cool.
I don't know if they really expect them to pay that, or if they were just price gouging, like on the ammo. That's interesting.
It would make sense that they're price gouging, because I mean that's
It's
maybe
supply
they were
demand.
just trying to make a quick buck, because they saw, I mean, never waste a good tragedy, and I guess snow in Texas is a tragedy.
Well, I mean, supply and demand. I mean, there was a demand for power, so.
Well, so it's not so much the snow itself as a tragedy. It's more so that they didn't prepare
Yeah,
for it.
they don't have the infrastructure to do it like places in
Well, there's three
the
power
North.
grids.
the north do.
There's 3 power grids in the United States.
They're-
They're very self-explanatory.
I mean, there's
The
still
Western power grid, the Eastern power grid, and the Texan power grid.
Yeah, it's like part of Texas is the upper part of Texas is on the western, and there's a little bit on the northern.
But yeah, so I think we pretty much covered all that. Slapshot, would you like to talk about your stuff?
Yeah, I got a couple things. So the first thing I wanted to bring up was for those of you that do follow Ben Shapiro and what he brings to his podcast, there was a survey conducted actually by, I forget the guy's name, I'm not even going to take a stab at it, so don't quote me on that, but one of the people I guess he works with did a survey on people who vote left and lean left, and it was on a couple 100,000 Democrats, left-leaning people. The question was, how concerned are you, if at all, that the following are a problem for the country? So this was a very interesting survey result that I wanted to bring up with everybody. So of all of the possible top concerns for the country, the top one is Donald Trump supporters at 82%.
Interesting.
That is what you have to complain about.
No, hang on. So like, let me bring up how this is rated here. So there's extremely / very concerned, which was at 82%. There's somewhat concerned. There's not very / not at all concerned, and then there's unsure. So 82% were extremely / very concerned.
So 82% of these people that were surveyed are scared of 50% of the entire country.
Yes,
So
I guess so.
I don't. Remind me again. What was the demographic of that?
They are all like registered left-leaning.
Oh, left
or-
leaning. Okay, because I was gonna
yeah.
be like, I thought it was just a generic like overall survey.
Yeah, no, it was asked of Democrat and lean voters.
So I mean that's what I was gonna say, because like I was thinking for a second if it was everybody, it's like half of or more than half the country is afraid of themselves.
I guess.
Apparently.
But
Allegedly.
10% were somewhat concerned, and 7% not very / not at all concerned. Besides the point, it just goes to show the political divide in the country is like it speaks for itself right here.
Hatred for one man just divides the country. Like,
I mean, it's not
That's
just that.
it's
It's
an
the
idea.
ideology.
yeah, but
And he just happens to be
The face of
The
the
face of the
ideology.
ideology.
I just want to run through, or I'm not going to talk about every single one of these points in depth because, we have other things that we want to talk about, but I want to go through this entire list and just kind of read off these percentages for the extremely / very concerned. So underneath that, we have white nationalism, which is 79%. And whichever ones you want to talk about or make a point of, each one of you can do so after I go through this list. So systematic racism, we have 77%. Gun violence, 76%. Americans lacking health coverage, 75%. Domestic terrorism, 73%. Police brutality, 68%. Discrimination against LGBTQ Americans, 59%. Sexism, 54%. Voter suppression, 53%. Student debt, 46%. Capitalism, 39%.
39% are afraid of capitalism.
39% of these asked Democrats / lean voters are concerned about.
I wonder how many of them have jobs.
that's
a good
another
question.
good point. But I mean, if I had to pick one of these, definitely Donald Trump supporters speaks for itself. But also the white nationalism thing, considering like only maybe
I-
tens of thousands of people out of the hundreds of thousands
We
of
have
people,
millions of people. I mean,
that live here.
yeah, millions of people in the United States, and
We're literally,
contrary to popular belief, actual white supremacists are a tiny, tiny, tiny margin of people.
yeah, it's less than 1% of the country.
Yeah, I mean, I can personally attest to this. 'Cause, I mean, I know tens of thousands of people, like honestly, and I could count on one hand how many people of that massive group of people that I've ever met are actually white supremacists. So like that boils down to fraction of a percent, and I think that's pretty accurate because like anymore they kind of invent not in kind of, they straight up invent terms that label you as something that fits their narrative. Like for instance, the anti-racism term literally means to be as racist as you possibly can. Like, but instead of using it in the phonetical context where anti usually means the opposite of something, they literally invented the quote anti-racism end quote term that literally means being racist.
Jeez.
So
I feel like people overuse that the racist term.
Well, they do, and they've
Oh, yeah.
they've
It's killing
weaponized
the word.
words. They've
It's killing
weaponized
the word.
words.
definitely, I mean, and that's
Like Nazi,
words
fascist.
are weapons
No,
anymore.
but they've turned them into like they've taken these big like hard hitting words like racist, Nazi, fascist, these things, and overuse them and use them so often that
In
people-
incorrect context.
yeah, incorrect context that people one are desensitized to them,
they're redefining the words.
and two
Pretty much.
they are redefining the words. Like I want to say it was probably like 6 months ago. Merriam-Webster changed the definition of racism to mean, or racist to be like an idea. Like an idea can be inherently racist based on the time period and like place it was found.
We're living in a dystopia.
You see, I mean, I think clearly some ideas are racist. There's no question about that. But like you said, they associate just, oh, well, it's because like this idea existed during like the time of slavery that it's immediately a racist idea. It's like, that's,
No,
no, that can't be.
And we talked about it before. America is built on the idea of American exceptionalism. And that being said, America has fallen short in places. We're all aware of that. We all learned about that in history class, whether that be slavery, whether that be internment camps in Japan, and any other, or like the Indian stuff. All of those were low points in American history. None of us disagree with that. But
You need to take
the
those.
goal, well,
You need
that
to
doesn't
acknowledge it.
we acknowledge it,
Exactly, yeah.
yes, and we learn from it, and we don't allow failures to take away from the actual goal, which is to be a place of good and to be a place of like
acceptance.
yeah.
I can sort of add on to that. Like with schools nowadays being taught one way over the other, they're not accepting or even teaching these faults as something to move forward with, like
or
to
something
learn from.
It was
and
just looked at like this is evil, and America is evil because of that.
yeah, it's literally creating this ideology of America's built on this evil foundation, and we can never come back from it because we do not recognize the faults as something to grow towards.
And at least how I was taught, at least as a kid, and I'm sure the rest of you have been, was you take your faults, you acknowledge them, and you learn from them, and you move forward so you don't do them again. Because as soon as you, and I don't remember whose quote this is, I'm sure one of you guys will know, but as soon as you get rid of history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Yeah, I forget who that is, but you know, there's a whole point to that. Whereas, you know, you have to. People like you said, you can't come back from that, is what people think, and that's exactly the opposite. Having something like this happen gives you a building block, gives you a point to build off of. Sure, some things that we've went through have been terrible. I mean, there's no question about that. But you can sit back, you can look at it, you can reflect, and you can make it better.
Yeah, and everyone can play a part in making it better. It's not just whatever.
It's not one side or the other. Like
but-
both parties have to come together and conjure up a solution and figure.
Well, like I
out.
said, like we are generally on the right side of the spectrum, and I don't like racists just as much as someone on the left doesn't like racists. Like the goal is the same. We both want the same thing.
How do we get there?
How do we
That's
get there so
the
then
divide.
people's rights aren't being infringed upon? Is the thing.
Blackbeard, if you had to pick something from that list, though, besides Donald Trump supporters, what do you think kind of like really sticks out to you?
Probably. Could you go through that list again, please?
White nationalism, systematic racism, gun violence, Americans lacking health coverage, domestic terrorism, police brutality, discrimination against LGBTQ Americans, sexism, voter suppression, student debt, and capitalism.
Probably police brutality. I think that is a few and far between thing that actually goes on. Now, like anything else, that does happen, but I think that with body cams and everybody having a phone, that everybody escalates somebody being detained as police brutality.
Well, definitely. I definitely see that. I would say more recently I've been kind of swayed to the line of, so if a police officer sees another police officer doing something wrong,
Accountability.
them holding that police officer accountable or fixing that
And to
issue
a higher
on the
standard.
spot. Yeah, because I mean that's how it's done in the Army.
Otherwise,
So-
you have unchecked power.
Yeah, and and I definitely see a lot of times where police officers are the same people that may have been bullied in school or just are drunk with the power that they have, and they don't respect the power that they have.
Yeah, I saw something very similar to that where it was a brand new rookie cop. It was like his first week out by himself, and he caught his chief drunk driving. And he had it on camera and everything. He's
Big
like,
irony.
Chief, I can't. Like, I have to take you in. I can't. And the chief is sitting there, oh, no, you don't. No, you don't. You know who I am. No, just let me go. He's like, Chief, no, that's really it. And I had so much respect for that guy because he
didn't
did
fall
the
into
right thing.
He didn't
He
fall into
did
nepotism.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what it falls
Right
down to, is doing the right thing all the time.
Yeah, and also just not let it, like, I know the older generation really enjoys yelling at people. And that alone will cause fights and problems anyways. Obviously at some points,
Escalations.
but you don't need to start like a traffic stop with yelling and screaming. Like, did you hurt someone? No, you may have been speeding 5 or 10 miles over the speed limit. Do you really need to be yelling at them? Is it really that serious?
have a conversation.
Or like have a conversation, or I mean, we're not cops, so I mean, obviously there's some leeway and some stuff, and we don't work in that profession, but in my experience from the military, a lot of people in my experience don't respond well to being yelled at. What they do respond well to is someone talking to them like a human being.
With respect.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think budgetary reasons have a lot to do with a lot of the different problems with officers.
I wouldn't say that, because I think the budget thing differs between different precincts, of course, but I think a more broader term would be training.
Training,
Well, that's what I
yeah.
mean. but
Training and
th-
screening.
It takes
Screening, yeah.
It takes a budget to get these guys into the proper training.
Right.
So everyone wants to defund the police officers, but if you funded them and you got them the proper training, a lot of this stuff would go down. Like, it would de-escalate,
Yeah, I mean, because just a lot of people, I think on Joe Rogan's podcast with Jocko, they talked about how much training police officers actually get, and it's maybe like an hour every like 6 months or something like that.
Oh
That's it.
boy.
Which is, I mean, besides their initial
Academy training.
but which is completely different from the military. Whereas the military, you're training, you have at least at a minimum sergeant's time training, which is on whatever day they pick, and that's at least like the whole day or half the day.
Yeah, you spend a whole day in a class learning.
In a class learning something or doing something with your job or whatever it is. Like, we need.
That actual number is 4 hours for every 3 months. Every 3 months they have to go back for certification training or so on, and it's usually 4 hours.
Yeah, real quick, before we jump to the next, the last news thing that you had, Slapshot, I wanted to address a comment from the audience about audio. Shaggy is running on one of our backup microphones because we kind of have a full cast today. We kitted out all the regulars with new microphones. Like, again, you can hear the microphones are a lot different. They're a lot clearer. We've really upped our game with our amplifier setups and stuff. But Shaggy's running on one of our backup microphones. Just in the event we have guests or whatnot, so that's why his voice is a bit off sometimes, because it's a totally different type of microphone. And if you hear a little bit of a buzz in the background, that's from his microphone too, just because of the way that the setup is on that particular one. So
And yeah, just to let you guys know, this is all on. At this point, the stuff has been bought by one person, so we're not getting paid for anything. This is literally just something that we enjoy doing and want to put out information. So take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, as we get better and stuff, we'll be able to get better equipment.
Not to mention, again, first live show. We're kind of flying by the seat of our
this
pants
is
to
our
make sure
first
everything's
thing.
running right.
Big apologies.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, let's get on to the last of your current events, and I think you had one too, right?
I had a short one.
Let's finish up you first, and then we'll jump over to that, and then we'll actually get into the real
The meat and
topic.
potatoes.
Yeah, the meat and potatoes, the main entree.
Yeah, so
Taters.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make a quick point of this, actually. Last week, saw an article about, I just wanted to read up on flu cases, so see kind of how flu and COVID kind of intertwined in 2020. So I actually cannot see the show notes. Can you actually read off those two statistics that I wrote down in there?
okay, you have 12,000 deaths in 2020, 22,000 deaths in 2019, and then the second one says last week in Kentucky there were 3 confirmed flu cases. The same week of last year there were already 17,000 confirmed cases. Huh? Would you look at that?
That's really interesting. I feel like we all sort of seen this coming.
Well, I mean, it's fairly obvious. Like, everyone's staying inside, everyone's blah blah blah, like doing that stuff. So obviously the flu cases are going to down if people are not interacting as much. And I mean, they've closed bars, restaurants, freaking everything. So obviously people are not, like I said, interacting. So the transmission of it is going to go down.
And then there are some people who think that, COVID is basically the flu or some version of the flu. So, I mean, there's something to be said about that where there could be
COVID is a flu virus, but
Right.
I mean, it's different. But at the same time, I don't want to jump on the whole, like, Q
You don't wanna
and
jump-
on
yeah,
stereotype.
let's
ugh.
jump on the demonetization train.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's just, let's stick with the facts of what
Right.
is provided to us rather than,
Listen to the science.
Right, but like I wanted to make a point of saying like some of those COVID cases could have been flu cases that tested positive for COVID instead of the flu.
Well, anything could happen.
Or they
of
didn't get
course.
tested for the flu but got tested for COVID instead. So like I don't know. I mean, I definitely think there's
there's something to be looked at and said about it.
Yeah.
Listen to the plan.
No.
Oh wait, guys.
This is the way.
Guess what today is?
Oh, what is
It's
today?
March 4th.
Oh, no.
Oh no.
Oh God, I didn't even realize that.
Oh boy. But without going down that rabbit hole,
Yeah.
we'll hop onto your current event, Shaggy.
All right, so mine also I got a lot of news this week from the stuff that they don't want you to know. Shout out. They were talking about in India the riots going on with their farmers. The Indian government passed a few laws through that would basically open it to be a free market instead of allowing their farmers to go through what they've normally gone through, where it was basically if you brought crop. You were set to be paid a certain amount, and in this new free market thing, they basically have to fend for themselves. And I think the average was each farmer owns 5 acres, and if somebody, it's vastly different than the United States. where
That sounds
big
like
corporations-
communism with more steps.
It is, but so they passed this through, and basically these small farmers that are taking up 80% of the population can't keep up with the 2 or 3 large corporations and can't sell at the lowest price, so they're screwing them out of all this.
Well, see, that's why you have monopoly protection in the United States. So something
Yeah.
that specifically doesn't happen. I get monopolies are meant to, protect, or the monopoly and antitrust stuff is supposed to protect against if there's one large corporation.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
with a country the size of India that literally has 3 times the amount of people we have, if there's 3 large companies that are doing it, then I don't see any difference there.
Exactly, and what I wanted to bring up about all of this is that these farmers are out protesting day in and day out, and they've been going onto social media to try and bring this news in. And I heard something on NPR about it as well. And they're actually the Indian government has tasked Twitter
Oh,
With silencing them.
with silencing them. No, correct.
Hey.
But they're not completely silencing them. They're silencing them from each other, so they don't see that other people are feeling the same. So people in India can't see other people from India's
That's so.
tweets.
freedom of information is subjective.
Freedom of information, freedom of speech, like it's all. I saw the comment earlier in the live chat about the conversations of freedom of speech isn't possible anymore. And before I get into that, I just want to touch on the point where I want to try to figure out what's the best way to interact with comments as we get them, since we're doing live videos. I want to figure out where that goes. But Luke had made a comment about how you basically can't have freedom of speech anymore, which is absolutely insane. Just because the times are different doesn't change the fact that
It was a quote-unquote friend of his.
yeah, but you can't. Just because the times have changed doesn't mean that anyone's opinion is any less. And the whole, so we've talked about this before, but the point of freedom of speech is not to protect the speech that everyone agrees with. Obviously, if everyone's agrees with the speech, then there's no problem. There's no questioning of it. What freedom of speech is actually designed to do is protect the speech that people don't agree with, simply because that prevents other people from silencing those other viewpoints. Because some of those other viewpoints may be very bad, like racism or stuff like that. But they are, because of how the free market of ideas basically works, is ideas are brought out, and then the market of ideas, which is us,
Accepts or rejects it. Yep.
accepts or rejects it. So therefore, that's how we have basically discovered right and wrong, or at least what has worked and what has not.
I forget who said it, but it's like it goes something along the lines of if you are okay, or it's like if you agree with freedom of speech for yourself but not somebody you disagree with, then you're not really for freedom of speech.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's
Like,
something like that.
Quite honestly, and I've said this a billion times, and to touch on that point, I am 100% for these people to have the ability to talk about wanting communism. I absolutely do not want communism. I don't agree with basically anything that they say, but they still 100% should have that right to advocate for it.
Well, and that's your opinion and their opinion, and you're allowed to have each other's opinions and talk it over.
Any sentient species at all should have the ability to have a difference in opinion.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's a hive mind.
Yeah,
you know,
and
it's not good.
Yeah, it's not good, and the echo chambers and stuff like that. Like, none of that is good.
Plus-
You need that information. You need the discourse to find the
Yin and
real,
yang.
Exactly.
Plus,
We
once
said that.
when the commies talk, it gives us something to make fun of.
Yeah, and I'm sure they make fun of us.
Yeah.
Because we're capitalist pigs.
Stupid capitalist
But
pigs.
all this
to the gulag.
all this comes into the topic in our normal transition
Yes.
between things. Slapshot.
Wake up!
Okay, yeah. Where if you're at the point now where people are literally saying that freedom of speech isn't possible anymore, that's pretty dramatic.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would say you're wrong.
That's very totalitarianism.
It's not even the right, but it's
too,
also the middle of political viewed people like are afraid to share their viewpoints because they're afraid of being like shunned and being called a racist or whatever else there is to be called.
You got to think the people that are in the middle of the road, they're scared of being shunned by both sides, because if you don't agree with one ideology or the other, then
Where are you?
it's like
you're going to catch the backlash from both sides.
you're on an island and there's two tsunamis, one on either side. You don't know.
Milk toast fence.
Dig a hole, dig a hole, dig a hole.
Yeah.
Where do you go?
Or what do you do? And that goes into our transition of waking up, and what can you do in your position as one person or as a group of friends like we are here? What can you do to better yourself, your community, and stuff like that?
Do what you think is right. You don't have to. You don't have to side with us.
Yeah.
Do what you think.
We're just
you
trying
are
to
your
give
own
you
person.
We're just trying to give you tools. So our tool for today is utilizing Airsoft.
Yeah, so this was really brought on and what we, not only what we use it for, but what inspired us to talk about this with others was because of the, I mean, I don't know if anybody's noticed it or not, but the kind of dramatic increase in ammunition costs.
Yeah.
Which hinder the ability to do proper training with, your team. I mean, you can dry fire and do stuff like that, but it kind of loses the luster and doesn't quite get it across. So you can, instead of spending, $1 a round on ammunition, if you can find it even,
Yeah.
now you can buy little plastic pellets and
That are basically free.
that are
And you can do the same training and more.
And
we'll-
you can reuse them too.
That's
no, you
not
can't.
recommended.
Not recommended.
but just to spell it across, like even before we get into it, we're not talking about like the cringy airsoft that you see, like the little kids and stuff like that play. We're actually as the script says, the little re kids game. We're talking it as an effective training tool because there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of parallels you can draw between airsoft guns and real guns, especially namely weapon handling and the actual
That looks like it. I mean, if I get an airsoft M4, it looks exactly like a real life AR-15 or very similar.
Yeah, and you understand the controls of the firearm and stuff like that. I know when we were younger, it helped us with learning firearm safety. I mean, that's what we're looking at it for is an alternative to actually doing training with real firearms. Again, mostly brought on because of the cost where we're at now.
An alternative, and I wouldn't say a complete alternative because obviously you need range time, but a definite good supplement that also allows you to train a whole lot of other things that you wouldn't necessarily be able to train with your real firearms.
Like target acquisition, not acquisition.
Well, you can use force on force.
Yeah, well,
that's where I was going.
we're gonna get into all that. So first of all, we want to go through each of our individual backgrounds with airsoft, and we can start with Slapshot.
All right. So what was it, 7th grade? A friend from a friend in high school introduced me to you guys, and I'm just like, oh, airsoft sounds kind of cool. Bought myself a little Crossman AK from Dick's Sporting Goods, and started with that. Kind of liked it. I thought the whole game scenarios that we would play out in the woods was entertaining. So I mean, kind of started with that and cheapo gun.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I got it. I started at a very young age as well, and bought myself a $100 gun, and then went out of nowhere and just started shooting my friends. Pretty much, it was like long range tag.
Yeah, for me, I mean, you guys know I've been involved in this longer than anybody else at the table. I mean, not only was I playing it, I was a master airsmith, which is someone who fixes them for 15 years probably, and I just was really into the mechanics of it. And then we've been playing for halfway to forever, you know.
Yeah.
Putting it simply.
So for mine, I actually was very similar to Slapshot. I think it was it 8th? It was either 7th or 8th grade for me, where I kind of connected with Raptor, and he was like, oh, we're gonna go do this. Do you maybe want to come out? I said, you know what, sure, that sounds like fun. Went out and I borrowed one of his, and I really liked it. And going forward, I went through and bought my own. I have some M4 that I had.
Emphasis on had.
It was fun while it lasted, and eventually the internal parts decided to break down, and I actually brought it to Crossfire that he was an airsmith, and he opened it, and dust came out.
Reduced to atoms.
Where there were gears, there were now dust.
Yeah.
And I moved from that to actual firearms, and it was a very useful tool for me.
Yeah, absolutely. My story is similar to Cross's. I didn't do as much of the maintenance and stuff like that on them, but I've been playing airsoft since probably 10, 11 years old, maybe earlier. And because I've always wanted to join the military and blah blah, all that. I liked firearms as a kid, so it was kind of just the progression of things. And I started out young. With airsoft, I learned all the weapon mechanics and stuff like that. And then as I got older, joined the military, did the military stuff, and then got home, bought real firearms, stuff like that. So that's my background, and that's pretty much everyone. So there's a ton of benefits that you can get from using airsoft as a training tool. And the first and foremost thing that I want to say about it is you get what you put into it.
Absolutely.
So if you treat it like a game and something that not just not taking it seriously or not looking at it as a toy or a game or whatever, you're gonna get out what a toy or a game is gonna give you.
It's not Call of Duty. Treat it like a real firearm and actually
treat it like training. This is
scenario.
Yeah,
run it like a scenario.
You're utilizing this stuff as a training tool for the end goal, which is real firearms and being more proficient, better, and stuff like that.
Don't run and gun and 360 no scope your buddy.
It's the same concept as real firearms.
I mean, you can
Like,
have fun, but like just
Yeah, I
keep
mean,
that in the back of your mind.
there's more leeway in it, of course, like compared to like actual firearms handling. But again, it's all in the mindset that you put in. Because if you go into like, oh yeah, like this is just a toy,
It's just a kid's game. I'm gonna run, and then if I die, I die, and it doesn't matter. And
You kind of have to value your one life that you run into the honor system.
That's a really, really good way to say it. You have to value what you're doing with it. Absolutely. So getting into like some of the benefits and some of the return, I'd say return on investment of using it as a training tool. The first and foremost is communication, because once you start working together with your team and stuff like that, you can really emphasize communication aspects versus like if you're actually running through it, or like running through like a scenario in reality, you're being careful not to shoot each other more so than anything, and you might lack on communication just because you're really concerned about that.
Maybe you don't know where your people are. You don't constantly have eyes on, like on a flat range. Regardless of you moving or not, you're in a confined area that is so big by so big, and you can only basically shoot one direction unless you have a really nice range area that you can do it. So with Airsoft, it allows you, not only does it open up the space or the directions in which you can shoot, but it also increases the number of people that are around, and the fact that you're shooting at moving targets. I mean, not that the accuracy so much matters, but you're working on target acquiring.
It's the handling.
Multiple targets, and you've got other people around you to talk to and stuff like that.
And plus, airsoft guns are relatively similar to the weight of a real firearm as well.
I mean, they're close enough.
Right.
It's not like you're holding a foam gun or
you're
something.
Not.
Or Nerf gun. I mean, it's a bit more realistic for weight. And then like the controls and stuff are almost identical compared to some stuff, which is like the key thing. You learn the familiarization. You learn about the controls and stuff like that. So communication, the team dynamics that go with that. It's again going off what you said about it being a safe environment, because I mean, like we train indoors in an area with that where you don't have to worry about like, oh wow, I just shot right through the wall because that was a steel core. No, it just bounces off it bounces. Where we're at, it's like it's a special type of plaster. But the point is, that you can train in there without having to worry about anything else.
And you can do realistic, yeah.
You can do it realistic, like in that particular scenario area, we do room clearing, and with that, it gives you the opportunity to have like real people in the room that are actively working against the team that's breaching, which is something totally different from you just setting up a fake course and running through it. There's a total real element, and you got to actually think about strategy, and it changes the dynamic of your training. It makes it way more realistic, even though again it's like the bullet dynamics aren't realistic, but that's not the point.
But yeah, the effective utilizing the skills that you're training like on the flat range, or utilizing these like the team stuff with room clearing and stuff, it's super. I mean, I would say there's not very many places that you can actually do live fire room clearing unless you have some acreage at your house to mess around on.
I feel like the team dynamic with Airsoft really brings out who you really are in a team environment.
Well, there's a totally different mindset, yeah.
Well, I think if you take it seriously and you really like I said it before, you value that one life that you have, and you actually go through a clearing exercise, or like a blue on blue, force on force, whatever you want to call it, that you really figure out who you are, what you're gonna do in a possible similar scenario in a live fire scenario.
Yeah,
it allows people to discover their roles and where they excel
with
their teammates.
Like you will figure out who's good at entering rooms, who's a leader, who's a good support role. You will figure out that
Find where you land in the team.
Yeah, pretty much. And
it lets you work on it. It gives you.
You'll figure out who's fitting in where, and who works best with who,
and where all the puzzle pieces fall.
Yeah.
Well, because people naturally will naturally fill the position that they gravitate towards. I mean, that's just human nature. So that works better, because if you have somebody in a position that they're more comfortable with and that they can excel with, then your team as a whole does a lot better.
And it simply allows you to fail and to do things that were not able to do with live firearms.
And
Yeah.
to
You
train.
you simply just cannot do some of the stuff with live firearms as a civilian, and especially as like you can get a saw airsoft gun, like a full auto saw. There's not a whole lot of people that in the United States that are capable of utilizing a saw. But what if you just happen upon a saw? How are you going to use it? How are you going to know? I mean, it gives you, it allows you to train in multiple different positions, allows you to fight other people, to actually have an like the targets aren't shooting at you whenever you're doing live firing. So you don't know. But these people that you're fighting in airsoft, they're shooting back. So how do you,
You can see how effective your cover or concealment is as
yeah,
well.
and how do you react to that?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like having the junkie for a lot of people. Like I would just use a video game analogy. It's like
Yeah.
kind of having the junkie AI versus actual people.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, sometimes AI will just throw you
Dumpster you.
through the wall
Oh,
and
yeah.
destroy you because they're cheating.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think it's a really good tool to learn how to mitigate the stress that comes with all the different things that are going on
it
around
helps you
you.
desensitize yourself to the real thing.
You're
Yeah.
never going to actually be prepared for the real thing.
No, but I'm
but
saying
to help
that
yourself.
with a bunch of crazy stuff going on, with people running here, running there, being able to acquire a threat versus a friendly,
Yeah.
you
That's a
know,
huge thing.
like that helps.
Yeah, and all this at what I would say is a relatively low cost to entry versus again like figure what you could spend on an airsoft gun for your setup. Literally, you could blow that on just a single training course. That
Yeah,
that you will
absolutely.
not
Yeah,
that
yep.
I mean like you will not get out of that single course what you can get out of that airsoft gun, because it's a tool, not just a little class.
Or at least with airsoft, you can get a whole setup for the price of a cheaper rifle of like an actual firearm.
That's I mean the barrier to entry is pretty low relatively speaking.
Yeah, in comparison.
I can speak a little bit on that. A relative of mine did a firearms course with room clearing, actually, by an ex-military individual, and that whole course was about 2 hours, 3 hours long, I think, and it was $300.
Yeah, see, I mean, and we were just looking earlier, like pre-show, what you could get for that. I mean, they're not the best, but I mean, there's options.
And you can do the same thing. All you have to do is read the Ranger manual or any of those like actual military infantry manuals and stuff like that on how to do it, and then all you do is take what you learned in the book or what you learned from a YouTube video or whatever it may be, apply that to whatever scenario you're utilizing in airsoft, whether it be at your house, whether it be at a actual like sanctioned event or somewhere in between, and use that to train that tool or that thing.
Well, and also with what you had said, Slapshot, like it was, you said $300 for 2 to 3 hours. That's $100 an hour, where you can go to an airsoft or a paintball range
Pay
that
25
allows
bucks.
pay $25 to $40 for 8 hours all day, and you can do that, and it's live and it's happening, and you can figure out what you're doing and how you're doing it with your team, and just so on.
Yeah, and speaking about long periods of time, 8 hours, how often are you on the range for 8 hours in your kit, in your plate carrier? I mean, I know some Army guys like P. Rizzle down there, but
I mean, that comes into the thing of like, I don't know if I could afford that. You know, I shoot one bullet every 10 minutes. You know.
no, but I
But
mean,
seriously, yeah.
Everybody take a turn.
Yeah, that's it.
you can run kit for long periods of time, and not only that, but you can run your real kit. You can throw, like, I've done it. I've played airsoft with my plate carrier for I think 5 hours total. Me and some McDangles, we ran
boy.
it, and I mean, we were sweaty, we were huffing and puffing, whatever, but we actually got the experience of fighting, in quotes, in our gear, in our kit, and not only on top of that, it allows you to test your gear.
Yeah, like how you have your stuff configured. Yeah.
Where you have your turn, like, cause some game roles you're allowed to run tourniquets. Where do you have your tourniquets? Where do you have as like revive roll or whatever? Where do you have your tourniquets? Where do you have your mag carriers? Can you quickly and efficiently reload your weapon? Do you have too much stuff on you?
Yeah, and again, like you said, because you can like a carrier, you can put in basically any configuration within the limits of, like, say it's Molly. You can any limits within the Molly, and like even ours are all pretty dramatically different. So you get to test and see if that's realistic. Be like, oh wow, these mag pouches are too far over. I can't quite get those if I'm in the middle of something. So it's a good way to test that versus like, oh boy, we're in the middle of an actual firefight and I can't reach my magazine, or like you said, a tourniquet.
Or I put my med kit on my back.
Oh boy.
And I can't reach my splints or my tourniquets.
But that is invaluable, I'd say, because I mean, literally when
Panther will attest to my.
Okay. We can talk about it.
Yeah, really. And a question from the audience: are you guys rocking Banshee plate carriers?
For the most part, yes.
100%.
I am.
I am not. I got what was is it the active shooter set?
Yeah, it's still a shellback.
Yeah.
But he has the active shooter kit.
And that's just because when I bought it right in the middle of the first scare, because I was like, oh man,
it was like super hard to get.
Yeah, and that's when basically all of
The
them were
Wish
sold
version.
out. Yeah, the Wish version. I got it off Wish. No, but I wanted to go with Shellback because I know Shellback are good. At least I've never heard of any issues with Shellback. And you guys had Shellbacks and stuff. So I just bought whatever I could get at the time. It still has level 4 plates in it, so that's what mattered to me. I'm gonna upgrade it.
Hey, don't step on the Wish plate carrier. The plates that it came with can stop a 50.
I mean, that was the old ones. The Demolition Ranch did a newer video, and the new ones can't stop anything.
No,
Yeah,
they can't
those were
stop
really
anything.
cool.
Oh,
We
tough.
just get a whole bunch of old tires and cut them and just stack them on your chest
Or
there.
just fill it with tannerite.
3
Oh,
meters
whoa.
wide.
Yeah.
Raptor, what plate carrier do you have?
I have a Banshee too, but it's the older one. It's not the
You
newer
have a Gen
ones.
1.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I have the Banshee. Is it the Elite?
the Banshee Elite, and I think he.
I have the Banshee 2, the Gen
Yeah.
2.
And then I have the 3.0.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I'm gonna be upgrading mine now, especially that the availability on that stuff's a lot higher. It's just a matter of when
and whatever.
yeah.
Right now, I mean, you're fine. You've got the plates, you've got the carrier. I mean, if it were, I mean, it's not the best thing ever, but having something is better than having nothing.
That's exactly why I went and bought that instead of being like, oh well, maybe I can wait for these other ones to come back in stock. I was like, I don't want to wait, especially that we were in the middle of like the riots and stuff.
Yeah.
Then I was like, I do not want to wait. I just want
Now is the
something.
time.
Now is something. I want something so that I have something.
I think I paid like 20% more than I probably should have just because of that.
The
Because
premium on it.
that's when I bought mine was right before the riots.
Yeah.
I think with fully kitted out with everything that I could have put on that I wanted on my kit, I spent $3,200.
Oh my goodness.
Or no, $2,200. Excuse me.
Okay,
Well,
that's
that's a lot of scratch.
$2,200. They're level 4 multi-hit plates.
You
ceramic.
have the
You have side plates too.
the cover
Yeah.
bump plates, right?
Yes, and I have the side plates.
Yeah.
You
That's
also
an
have-
answer for the audience.
Yeah, I think you're the only one of us that has it because I think yours
yeah.
is.
At
does
that
your-
point, no, I don't. I mean, so basically, you have to buy the side plate holder.
That's what I say. Does yours have that or not?
I can put them on.
Yeah, no, they molly in.
Yeah,
to the
they just
side.
molly onto the sides.
Are
Yeah,
yours
on the
are
inside.
yours Molly? Or are they built in?
No, they're Molly.
They're Molly. Okay. Yeah. See, I do have Molly on the sides. I think that's pretty standard.
Personally, like in the Army and the IOTV or with stuff like that, like they give you side plates and stuff like that. They also give you like a neck guard. They give you like you look like freaking Terminator with the shoulder level 3 like soft armor and the thigh armor and the groin armor and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
you're bomb squad at that point.
Tarkov Gen 4 assault armor.
Yeah, basically Tarkov Gen 4,
That's
the full thing, but
awesome.
nobody actually wears it. Nobody. What you wear for the most part is your front and back plates. Why? Because there is a benefit to mobility over being a juggernaut. And
Yeah.
honestly, the level 3 soft armor isn't really going to
I
protect.
kind of noticed like the mobility with having side plates in, but there is like they are relatively slim, and it's not a ungodly.
No, I'm not
thing.
saying that it's impossible. I'm just saying like how much do you value your protection over mobility, but you also like
You have to
you-
find a happy medium
yeah,
for sure.
you can't
It's a
completely get rid of protection.
It's a cost benefit analysis in its simplest of terms.
Yeah.
It's cost benefit because like you again like the slimness of those makes them so they're not really irritative as the audience
It's just
said,
more
but
weight.
there's more weight to it. So and I think a lot of people wearing just front and back it thinks about like quote what is the biggest silhouette, and of course that is if you're standing straight on, versus if you're standing on your side. You have half the silhouette, where your arms mostly in the way and stuff. So I think it comes down to that.
You also have to realize that the plate carrier doesn't protect your stomach for the most part, unless you've got like some weird Russian thing. But the plate carrier is designed to simply protect your vital organs. So
Yeah.
you can get shot in the stomach, you can get shot in the arm. You're not invincible in a plate carrier. You're just as killable as anyone else, especially for headshots.
But it protects your heart and your lungs.
Yeah, that's what
that
the
stuff, yeah.
front plates does.
The
The
very
side
vital
plates,
stuff.
yeah, the side plates are smaller in comparison. They're honestly about the size of this. If it,
That's about right.
our boom mic thingy,
Pop filter.
our pop filter, if it was
But
square.
I would imagine they're probably like maybe a 5.5 by 6 square, relatively.
Yeah,
Smaller than a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
but regardless, yeah.
I think those would be good for like.
I mean, it stops from the side,
side
maybe you get
hit,
shot
yeah.
here and it goes through you. But it's completely up to you. I won't say don't get them, because if you want more protection, then hey, get more protection. I don't personally run them because I mean, if I'm gonna get shot in the side, what are the chances that it hits that tiny square? What are the chances that I get hit in the actual strike face of the front plate?
Again, because of silhouette, it's just mechanically more likely.
Yeah.
But again, as
that
the
was-
audience
yeah.
pointed out, there's also the addition to the Banshees that you can protect the lower abdominal. I have seen those.
Yeah.
That's
I don't-
something that I might actually look into.
I don't think I can use that on mine. I'd have to check and see how it's mounted. If it might be.
No.
It may work. Who knows?
if it's the Velcro, it might fit well.
It may. Yeah. I'd have to check.
If you ask me, I'm wearing front and back plates and a helmet, and I'm going cowabunga. It is.
And quad nods.
Quad nods, yeah.
And Raptor, to go on,
Nods.
of course, swing back onto the whole running with your kid in an airsoft scenario game. You really figure out where your physical fitness level is at.
Yeah, that's a huge thing.
That's like what I'd say. It's probably like
One of the bigger things you get out of it.
Yeah, really.
And I think I think everybody that has the ability to get a kit and or a plate carrier to do so and
To run with it.
run with it all the time and never take it off
I mean, 'cause
in these
an extra-
scenarios.
that's an extra 15 pounds of weight you're running.
Not only
around.
that, but you doubled your use out of it, because first of all, now you're not only are you only wearing it on the range, but now you're wearing it to the gym and stuff like that. Like, you get more use out of it than you would
And the
before,
mo-
which helps you justify the cost.
Yeah, well, and the more
Yeah.
you wear it, the more you get
used to it,
accustomed
yeah.
to carrying that kind of a load around. So your cardio is going to go up, your strength is going to go up, and the
Benefits.
comfortability,
endurance.
yeah.
the comfortability of the plate carrier will,
Just getting used to having that
having
extra
that kind of load
20
on you.
pounds on you or more.
During the summer, Raptor and I actually did that a lot. It was summer and fall time, actually. We did that about 5 days a week for how many months did we do that?
I honestly can't remember. So it was
So
off
about
and on, but it was
Like roughly a 4-month period.
yeah.
Well, I know the 5 of us went out and we all went hiking in ours. All 5 of us. That was
I mean,
that
I
was a
didn't
real good time.
Where it was, I didn't even have it in my bag. My bag was just heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Because
had me personally, I just had a heavy.
You
Yeah,
had
mine
it
was
in
in
your
my
bag,
bag.
yeah. But regardless, we were all training with weight, training with our gear. We should probably go back into airsoft though.
Yeah.
We're getting on a bit of a tangent.
Before we do, real quick though, I do want to get back into that though in the spring and see actually how well we run with our plate carriers again when it gets warmer.
Sure thing.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say like a couple points that could be that we could hit up on is the start from the bottom, figure out things we already went through. The scenario stuff, because elaborating on more than just like room clearing and stuff like that, you could set up literally any scenario, within reason, of
Yeah.
course, for an airsoft game. And you can mess around with the dynamics, and you can change this, change that. You
See
can
what works best.
see what works best. You can give one side a hell of an advantage. Like if you were trying to get into an area and that was more heavily defensible,
More people, more
pe-
defensible.
Yeah. So I mean, there's tons of scenario type stuff that you can mess with to better train yourself.
And you can also play both sides of that, because
That's
you
what I
can,
mean, yeah.
you can do one side as attacking and see how well they do, and then the attacking team will be defense and see if they can do better.
Halftime, switching sides.
Your training goes from a static range of static targets sitting on a range to a completely dynamic environment where you have a set area, usually here at least, we have a much larger set area to operate in, and we can work on both sides. We can try different things. We can shoot in different directions, not just at static targets. We can shoot at each other and all that. Like,
And something to actually make note of, those of you in the audience that don't have large spaces to run around in the woods behind your house, for example, you can go to a paintball or airsoft location. Most paintball places do airsoft as well, depending upon where you go, and they will set up scenarios for you. So it's a different experience every single time.
I would say generally there's probably an airsoft facility within about an hour from wherever you are at max, maybe an hour or 2 hours away from wherever you are in the world. So
plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, because I know, because I was on a sponsored paintball team. I did paintball for years and years and years. A lot of these courses offer both paintball and airsoft, and coming from experience from paintball, the games are huge, and they have a lot of different demographics of the different styles of combat, whether it be CQB or very, scarce cover.
Yeah, you can go to places like American Milsim or Operation Lion Claw. Those are two really big airsoft milsim things that basically they purchase or they rent military base areas or like actual multi-billion-dollar training facilities that have huge like multi-story structures and buildings and different like complete stuff that you would never be able to do with a real firearm. You have access to these training facilities, and I'm completely plagiarizing this from Lucas, because that's what he talked about in his airsoft video. But the whole point of us doing this is to get more people involved in the airsoft, because first of all, the more people that we get involved, or if the gun community gets into the airsoft community and starts like mentoring and like molding these airsoft kids into something
Molding the young minds,
molding them into good firearm owners, so then whenever they get older and they can buy their firearms, now they're smarter, they're better, they're not
more well equipped,
and they're using
prepared, yeah.
they have these firearms for the reason that they are intended for, which is to protect yourself, whether that be from another person trying to hurt you or from the government.
I mean, yeah, and again, like I said, you can just you can use your imagination to think about all the other benefits that come with it. I mean, I guess about the only thing you really don't get is realistic recoil.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't need it, because you know where I can train realistic recoil
On the range.
On the range.
Yeah.
So if you get everything else down other than recoil, it's so useful.
Yeah,
And
the cost benefit is huge.
I saw a video also from Lucas, because we really like him around here. He brought somebody over from Japan where firearms are completely illegal, and to be able to get an airsoft gun in Japan is the same process to get a firearm in the U.S. And he went through all that, and he trained, and he trained, and he trained, and he dry fired, and he had all of this down.
All of us.
He was, and all he had, like the only thing that he had to learn was recoil management. And he came in, and what was it, like the second or third round that he had a malfunction, and he cleared it so fast.
It was so clean, and this guy had never touched another firearm before, a real firearm before.
Only
He had
airsoft.
done nothing but airsoft.
Silky smooth.
And he slap racked that thing so good. And it just fixed it. It just goes to show how much you can learn just by handling the weapons.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably. I mean, the other stuff's a lot of benefit. There's tons of benefits to it, but I'd say, like, at least in my opinion, I think that's one of the biggest benefits is that low barrier to entry to get into weapon handling and weapon familiarization, especially again that they're all set up the same, and again like younger audience and stuff or younger people can get into that and understand that to prepare them for proper firearms.
And learn the manual of arms so that whenever you pick up a real firearm, it's almost
You know
second
what
nature.
safe is. Yeah.
That's the best way to like recap what I was saying. Yeah. Which I'd say is extremely important, you know.
Yeah.
What's also important to know is that with airsoft, like the guns, they translate to real firearms, whereas paintball does not. Sure, you can take some of that tactical mindset and strategy from paintball to real firearms, but not so much.
I mean, generally, your general paintball gun is like a tube with a hopper on top. There are like more M4-ish paintball guns, but I digress. Airsoft firearms are a lot better.
Blackbeard's making some
They're a lot
faces
better.
at us.
Blackbeard's a big old paintball boy, and everyone else here, he's a paint boy, and everyone else here is an
catch the
airsoft boy.
flack for everything
Listen.
around here. Old, boomer,
Listen, it just
fud.
Paint boy.
Paint boy.
sometimes you just get the short end of the stick. I don't know what to tell you.
Welcome to my life.
And I mean, we talked about the training facility. You can try different stuff in safe environments. The last thing is cost. You can basically get a complete like airsoft rifle setup, or I would say a high-end airsoft rifle setup, starting at around $300. I would say, depending on how many magazines you want, or if you want a more realistic magazine experience, then you get like mid caps or low caps, and you can get those.
Do you want to explain what those are for those that don't know?
So low caps usually hold like basically the same amount of rounds, maybe 10 more as a real firearm. Mid caps hold about usually like 120, 140, and then high caps have like 500 or anywhere between like 200 and 500 rounds.
And those
in the
ones will have
in
like
one
a little,
magazine. They've got like a rolly thing on the bottom.
Yeah, on the bottom you have to wind every so often to keep BBs feeding through.
I think another key point to this is, along with your weapons mechanics, you will grow more efficient with a real firearm. So,
But that's what I was saying earlier about the familiarization with it, you know.
well, you'll just be
Yeah,
like that guy from Japan. Since he did this airsoft, he was super familiar and super silky smooth and fast.
better than most. I mean, I would quite honestly say he's
He's
a better
better
shooter
than
than
all of
everyone
us.
here. And obviously we're working to get better, but
We all start somewhere.
yeah,
and
we all everyone starts somewhere.
How old was he? Was he like 15, 16 at the time?
Yeah, something like that.
He was close, and he was better than all of us. And
Yeah.
it was amazing.
He was
to
showing up
watch.
military special forces dudes. Like,
It all goes down to practice, though. It's just like anything else. You keep practicing, and you get better at it. And this is no exception, you know.
yeah, it's a skill that you have to nourish and hold and treat it like a
Now-
baby and do all that.
For those who want to get into this, should we maybe go over some different types of scenarios that you can use?
I mean,
We wanna
you
talk
can
about
use
brands as well.
I think you can if more people want to hear more about airsoft and our like personal opinions on stuff.
You can go to
You
Discord.
can join us on our Discord.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, you can
The
go to
plug-in.
Discord or talk to us or whatever it is, or we may do a video if there's enough talk about it. But I think the
Do a
biggest thing
side
is,
series.
I mean, you can go on the internet
They're
and look up
GoPros.
airsoft scenarios all day, every day. I don't want to beat the dead horse, or at least there's tons of different. You can look up game mode. Like if you just search airsoft game modes on the Google, you'll find lists upon lists upon lists.
Better yet, go on YouTube and watch just literally YouTube.
Search up airsoft
scenarios.
people.
There are
and
plenty of airsoft YouTubers.
Silo.
or Desert Fox. Or
Yeah.
Yep.
a bunch of other
Snipes.
guys.
Swamp Sniper.
Swamps. Yeah, I would love to see fire like, and I think Lucas is doing this, but working firearm YouTubers like Grantham or Lucas or Warrior Poet Society working with these bigger branded airsoft people like Liku and like stuff like that.
I want to see Tim Kennedy.
You know, something else that one of the audience members just said is that he trained one of his friends with a replica Glock 19, which was green gas, which is the blowback version. Instead of it just being a little spring that pushes it forward, the green gas blowback it imitates.
It's similar. It's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same as recoil, but it imitates it, so you can get that understanding of how it's going to work and all these things that go on with it. And honestly, what's really cool about that is I just recently purchased a Glock 19 of my own, and as when we were younger, I had a Glock 19 that was a gas blowback. So it really does translate. It's really nice.
Glock. I can't believe you just went to the
can't-
dark
I'm
side.
done this.
I'm the one.
He's
that
not
they've
the
been
SIG
talking
boy.
about. I have a SIG.
You
Get out
have
of
a
here.
SIG, but you're
Yeah,
no
you-
longer.
what are you carrying right now?
What's in the sidecar, buddy?
Yeah, what's in your sidecar right now?
Build the cages, Joe.
Who built the cages? But I think with that, we can wrap up. If you guys have any more questions or anything like that about Airsoft, feel free to hit us up on our Discord.
Discord.wevaliantfew.com.
Yep.
Or better yet, if you want to know where all of our socials are, just go to our website, www.wevaliantfew.com.
Or search We Valiant Few in Google. We have SEO now.
We come
Ooh.
up.
We are.
And also on Instagram, because that's where I've been posting cool pictures of guns and things.
Memes.
And memes. You like the memes?
And memes.
You like funny?
Thank you, Raptor. You're very good. You're very good at your job being the CMEO.
I don't
of
like that title. I think
Meme lord.
Chief Meme
What
Opera
about,
Officer.
what if it was CMEMEO?
What?
Oh no.
that'd be pretty
See
good.
what you did there.
I think I do more than make memes.
Do you though?
What is my purpose? You
Pass
make
butter.
memes.
Memes.
You pass butter.
I need a purpose in life.
I think
Why
that's
are we
fine.
here?
Just to meme.
Yeah, but I think that's good. Hopefully we can get this off of YouTube and get it on Anchor. I think I know how.
Oh, we'll figure it
We'll
out.
figure-
Oh, yeah.
We'll figure that out.
If
I'm
you're
sure
on the
you can.
tail end of this, yeah, you can. Obviously, you can. If you want to listen to our voices again for whatever reason, you can listen to them on Apple Podcasts or Spotify whenever we figure out how to get that up there.
Or
Hopefully.
all other major podcast platforms.
Yep.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's pretty much it. Thanks for those who tuned in for the live show. I think this is going to be the new format. We've changed some things around the studio that makes it a little bit more beneficial to do live shows on Thursdays
Yes.
rather than doing the uploads to YouTube on Saturdays. So I think it works a lot better for us. So
And I think we're still trying to keep the podcast airing at 5 on
Fridays.
Fridays.
Yes, because we can do this here, assuming we can get it off YouTube, which again, I think I know how to do that. Then we can take that and throw that back on to the podcast platforms for Fridays at 5. So that's staying.
If anybody has any insight, you can hit us up on Discord and help us out.
Yeah, seriously.
Talk to us. Give us some constructive criticism.
We've had some talk.
We need
Yeah, there's
friends.
We don't need friends. There's quite a few friends in here, and half of us just hate each other's guts.
Paint boy.
All right, well, I think that's pretty much good to go. You guys have anything else to add? I
Come
don't.
combative,
I'm good.
Shaggy. You're done.
I think we're done.
Shaggy, you good?
Yes, sir.
Slapshot?
Stay valiant.
Wake up and stay vigilant.
Signing off.
Stay vigilant.
That's it.
Stole my line.
That's it. All right, we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks again.
Yeet.